Hello and welcome back to the first part in the building of the Dear Ross kit. This pedal kit right here from Music Ding with the papers right here. Buy the kit if you want to and you join in with the fun. Some of you have already said that you're gonna do it, so I'm super excited to see what you guys do. And if you are late to the whole thing and you didn't see the earlier video where I opened up the kit and show you what you got, don't worry, you can still join in on the fun. This is gonna be sort of its own little thing, I'm hoping. So if you want to join in and learn how to build a pedal or start off somewhere and be able to have a discussion with me and everyone else who's joining in, because I hope you're all going to join in the comments and talk to each other and not just talk to me. Obviously talk to me, that's always fun, but I hope you're going to like maybe see if someone is saying something like, I don't know what mod I want to do, that if you see this video and you're already planning a mod yourself, that you share that with that person down there so maybe they get some inspiration. That's this video. I think it's also kind of a good thing to have a pedal kit that we start out from and that everyone can get excited about and that everyone can get, so that we all know what it is we're talking about, because if we're all building different things and we're all doing different stuff, it can be hard to know exactly what it is everyone is doing. So this could be a fun thing, I hope. So let's jump into it and get started and see what happens. It's super easy. You get the papers when you print them out from the website, and you don't have to buy anything to be able to get to those papers. It's really good. I really like that because you don't have to log in or anything like that. And you'll have a schematic like this where you'll see all the parts and it will say things like R2 and then 10k, and we'll know that, okay, we'll have to put a 10k resistor there. Now when you open up the bag with all the parts, you'll get two PCBs. This red one is the actual pedal, and this green little one is for the switch and all the wires that are going to connect to the true bypass switch. And if we look at this, you'll see all these little marks and things like that. We're going to take a closer look real soon, but you'll see things like R3, for example. And then you can just look, okay, there is something called R3 there, and I can look here at my schematics and I'll see that, okay, we have a R3 somewhere here, and it's there. R3 is right up there, and it's a 1 meg resistor. So now you know. It might seem like I'm glancing over it, but I promise you, that's how easy it is. Let's take a closer look at this PCB and start mounting parts to it. So here we have the board, and as you can see, there isn't that much going on. Here's the front where all the parts are going to get put in, and you have tiny little square boxes like this where it says R and a number. That's where the resistor will go. So we take our first bag, which is the one with our resistors and with our diodes. And now we just need to take out some resistors like these right here, and written on them it will say what it is, and it's maybe a little bit crudely drawn, but it says 1M, and that's 1 meg. So we just need to find all the parts that are resistors that need a 1 meg. And if we look at our papers, the one I showed you, we can see that, for example, R5 and R3 are both meg. R4 is also a meg. If we look here, we can see that R3 is there, R5 is there, R4 is there. So these three will have these put in. So all we need to do is take our trusty little wire cutters, and we need to cut these off from where they sit taped together, and we bend the legs and then we put them in place. So 1 meg in R3, and we can bend the legs out a little bit like this so that they hold themselves in place. There we have them, and now we can just turn it over like so. Take our soldering iron, we make sure our tip is clean, push a little bit of solder into the tip so that it melts and floats and looks nice, and then we press it up against where the PCB and the leg meet, and they flow together, and you just hold it there for a second, make sure everything floats into each other. So imagine that this is the hole, and you're poking the leg of your part, whatever it is, through, and it sticks up like this. Okay, you want to put solder in so that it melts together and becomes sort of like a cone or a little pyramid or something like so. And there goes my light again. I need to change the battery, and it looks like that. And you want the connection to look clear, like silver or something like that. Not clear as in transparent, but clear as in you don't see any weird artifacts. If you think of like this pickup cover, for example. And now we can take our wire cutters and come in and cut them off as close as we can. Okay, so I had a little bit of a accident, which I'm clumsy. I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. Clearly. But anyway, if you go to their website and you print out these papers, for some weird reason they have the old version, and I didn't look close enough, but this is what I printed out. And you can see right here, it says RossDist V1. And I found that I couldn't find where to put some pieces. And so I went there to look, and after going through the different section they have, because they have, if you scroll down, you can see all the parts that comes in the kit, and you can see the documents that you should download. But if you click on the sidebar thing for the documents, you'll get other documents. Super annoying. And there I found the actual document I'm supposed to follow. And it's a little bit annoying because, for example, R8, on the old one, R8 is a 1 meg, but here it's a 10K. So I need to use my solder sucker right here, and I need to redo what I just did with the right resistors in the right place. So that means that we have to jump in to change this out. And I'm just going to do it real quickly. And instead of being mad about it, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to show you how to use a solder sucker. So let's do that real quick. And in between this cut and another cut, I will go and scream in a corner. But you won't even notice that. Okay, so the way a solder sucker works is you have a tiny little tip at the top right here. It's like a tube instead of a soldering iron. And you press this thing in, and then you press that, and it sucks out the solder. And we're gonna have to change R8, which is this resistor right here. So we flip it over, we find out where those legs are, and we hold this over, and we melt the solder. And as it melts, we press the button. And you might have to do it a couple of times. And you're supposed to be able to get it so clean that everything just basically falls out. But that's the ideal version of everything. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go that well for you. And for example, I don't think it's going that well for me right now. So what you can do, you can take something like an awl, and you can just press it in to a corner like that, and just hold it gently like I'm doing right now with almost no pressure at all. Then you heat it up, and as the solder melts, press it. And if you're really careful, you should be able to basically flick it out. I'm gonna cut one leg shorter than the other, like this, so that I can push one leg in and melt that in place. This is not the professional way to do something that I would like to teach you. But sometimes you have to do things the bad way or something to make it happen. So we have a little solder on the tip, and we just heat up the connection and we can push it through. Okay, so everything is in its right place. I just want to say one thing, and that is that I said that I never got a 2.2K, but that was because I looked at the old ones and that said I was going to use a 2.2K, and that's usually what you use on the Switch where the LED is, so I thought that it was obviously correct. But the other 4.7K is the one that's going on the Switch. So in the newer version, it all makes sense. So just correcting that from the old video, I got all the parts. I didn't miss something. I just had the wrong papers. But anyway, if you look here, you can see that's where our first diode is going to go. It's this one right here. And as you can probably see, or at least I hope you can see, because it's a little bit fiddly to film these things, there is a line on this drawing here. And that's the orientation. Resistors have no orientation, but diodes do, and they have to go in that direction. The diode has a line indicating what side is going to go on the side where the line is. So we have to make sure they line up. I hope that rambling makes sense to you, because it felt smarter in my head. So we take the diode and we bend the legs, and we try to make them fit like so. And then we push it in, and we make sure we push it in the right way around, so that if you see here, which I hope I can show you, push it in so that that mark there and that line there lines up. Before we move on and put on some other parts, we're gonna take a look at the switch, and we're gonna solder this in place. It says switch on this side, which means they go together like so. They can be a little bit fiddly, and just wiggle them back and forth a little bit like this, so that you don't break anything. And now we just need to put a little bit of solder on each of these connections. And since it said that the other 4.7 is going here, we're going to put that as well and push them through those two holes right there. And then cut the legs off. So that's the switch. Now it's ready to go in the pedal. Okay, so the next thing are the electrolytic capacitors. They look like this. 2 legs and a little cylindrical body. And on one side you'll have a stripe, and that's the negative side. This one is going to go into this slot right here, the C5. And you can see a little plus mark right there. That means that the opposite is the negative. So put this longer leg in there and slide it in, and the negative, the strip or the colored leg, gets pulled in like that. And I put it in as close as I can, and I bend the legs out on the back to try and keep it in its place. So now they're in place, and all I have to do is solder them down so that they stick and get a good connection, and then I can clip the legs. I was about to forget this little IC holder. Now if you look closely, you'll see a tiny little half moon shaped up there. And if you look at this, you'll see that one side is flat and the other side has a little indentation. And that's just to show that that indentation goes in there, so they line up correctly. There it is. And I like to bend the legs over when I've put this in so that it gets very easy to solder it down. And this is holding the IC. So even if we change out the IC, we will never take this out. We could experiment with changing one of those out, especially if one of you has any good idea. And now, because the legs are bent, it's very easy to solder everything down. And there you can see it. It's pretty neat, at least I think so. And then later, when we're done, we can just put it in there and it will clip into place. No worries. Okay, so it's time to put these in. These are the 1NJ100, and there's 2 of them. And we just cut the legs off. And the first one is going into C3. And then we take the next one, and that one is going into C7, which is down here. The next one, it says 10NJ100, and that one is going into C1. And we can take the next one, which is the last one, and just to make sure that everything is correctly done, we'll see which one this is, and it's the 47NJ100. The only slot left is the C4, and in C4, they want an N47, so it's correct. So we flip it over and we see that we have the gain control and the volume written right here. And in the description, the volume is the 50K. So it will get pushed through like so. And then we just need to add a little bit of solder to these connections right here. And there we have it. The volume is in place and it looks good. Now we just need to put this one in as well. I'm gonna put a little bit of electrical tape on the back of these pots. So I'm just gonna bend them back like this, like so, and just put a tiny piece over so that it doesn't accidentally circuit out. The next thing to do is to just feed in wires into these holes and solder those in place. Now you can do any colors you want. I'm gonna do 2 things that I always do, and that is 9 volt is always red and ground is always black. I have some wires that are red and black in here, so I'll be using those for that. And then for the other wires, I'll be using some other colors. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, so all the cables are in place and we're putting it to the side just for a little bit. I've mounted the LED in here and now I'm just pushing this switch here through. And as you can see, the LED has 2 legs, and the longer one is the lead or the plus. So here on the switch there are 2 holes, and we just need to make sure that we line it up correctly. There we have it. And now we have 2 solder connections there that we just need to do. So let's do it real quick. Cut off those 2 legs like so. And because I'm thinking ahead about modding this, I've decided to remove the stereo jack and only have 2 mono jacks and not have a battery clip. And that's just because this pedal can get pretty full of things pretty quickly, I think. So I forgot to press the record. I just kept going without recording anything and was just sitting here talking to myself like an idiot. After you screw this down with the pots holding it in place on the back, you have to connect all the wires that are connected here. They are written 9V in, ground out. And I suggest you color code them because they have places here. +9 BI, which is board in, G and D ground, and that's just cables go here, and BO, which is board out. Then you have to put your jacks wires in, and I suggest you keep the color coding going so the in on the board is blue and the in on the jack is blue, and that wire gets connected to the JI, which is jack in, and underneath it's the ground connection. And the same thing here. Now we can screw it together. You might notice that the back of this pedal is bare and not painted, and that's because I was outside painting and it was a super sunny nice summer day, and I don't know what happened, but out of nowhere it started raining. Clouds just showed up and were like, hey, we see that you've forgotten something outside that doesn't want rain on it. Here it is now. Anyway, so let's see if we can find some knobs for it. And here are the knobs. They are a little bit on the small side, but I was thinking that the black and the brown might look somewhat vintage. That looks pretty nice. The pedal looks a little bit old. And as you might know, I really like old things and I like vintage gear and things like that. Not necessarily think it's better, but I just like the way it looks and feels. I think it looks neat the way it looks right now, and it's probably not going to stay like that for very long because next thing is to mod it. But first I'm going to go and play it. We're going to see what it sounds like, or hear what it sounds like maybe. And if you haven't joined up and gotten the kit, I hope that this video inspired you to want to join in. For now, thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to stay awesome and cool. And if you want to, join in and we'll see how much fun we can have with this weird little pedal. Bye bye!